Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we will be talking about a very large system. You could say it's a monster in terms of its size, but it's going to be a weird one. It's not going to be your typical wound up low pressure system, but it's neither going to be a typical summer system that barely has any area of circulation. It's going to be kind of a hybrid of the two. A hybrid monster storm, if you will, is coming. And the impacts from this will be varied. Some folks won't really get anything at all, while other areas will get a lot of effects and a lot of temperature swings because of this system, and potentially the next week can be daily affected by this storm. So let's get into this as this thing is beginning to loom on the horizon. So currently across the United States, as you can see above my head, there is the satellite imagery, and we do have a weak area of circulation, mainly monsoon moisture, across the northwest and western United States that is circulating, bringing quite a bit of showers and rain. And that is going to combine with another system from the northwest and form into this hybrid system that I'm talking of. Across the eastern United States, the southern, the northeastern, the northern, it is really quiet. It's been beautiful fall weather, at least here in my area in the Midwest. And always, as I mention in every video, at the very top right, you can see there's the time handle. So that corresponds to the map that I will be showing you the storm in, and any other thing I go in the future, the timestamp will always be there, right? So you could use that to track it if I don't say it specifically. So do note that right now, again, as I've been saying, we have a weak area of circulation, a little bit of a low pressure across the western United States, some showers, some storms, nothing crazy. But as we go towards the east, again, it's really quiet. So even though the area isn't crazy across the west, it's still our biggest concern, because further eastward, that cool-off is moving away. We are now beginning to rebound in terms of temperatures. And let's see if you guys notice anything. Let's see if I push this forward, you see where this precipitation is really flaring up. If you're guessing across kind of the northern and western United States, then you'd be correct. You can see that there's many showers, many pockets of storms across Colorado, Arizona, I should say more of New Mexico there, into Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. Again, the high pressure that brought that cool down for the eastern United States at this point is moving away, and you can see that we are experiencing with quite a bit of activity across now more of the eastern western United States, so the front range of the Rockies. So as we approach this weekend, the area of low pressure that we were talking about just a second ago begins to move further and further east, along with it all the shower and activity that it has brought with it. But notice that across the northwestern United States, what we're seeing is another area of precipitation and moisture. And now let me run this forward a little faster in time now so you can see what happens. So as this one moves further east, this first one, the second one comes on shore, bringing some rain and showers with it. But look what happens. It's almost like that first one stalls out and begins backtracking to fully merge with the second system. And notice that as I push this forward, we see a low pressure, almost a series of low pressure develop, and we have this large area of broad circulation. So again, it's not your classic fall storm or autumn winter storm where there's a low pressure, a cold front, a warm front, and a comma-shaped head of precipitation behind it, either in the form of heavy rain or a blizzard if the conditions are right enough during the winter time. There are some features of that. You can see right there, the strongest winds will still be on the backside of this, so that's where normally that is on low pressure. But it does have a weak cold front, a little bit of a warm front, but it's a monster storm. I mean, expanding from potentially the southern United States all the way into Hudson Bay, James Bay. And notice what's also interesting, I froze it at this image, is because it's a hybrid system, as I mentioned. It's not going to be a classic winter storm or a fall storm. It's almost like it's a combination of those two, right? So during the day, the activity is plentiful, but during the night, it dies down. So it's almost like that popping, the kind of that popcorn precipitation pattern that often those summer moisture waves have. And notice during the day, this thing blows up into precipitation with the help of daytime heating. So it does have a cold front, a little bit of that warm front, and some of that wind behind. So that is the characteristics of a larger system that is well put together. But again, it lacks that that cohesive nature, and also the fact that it dies down during the night when the moisture and daytime heating isn't helping it, indicates that the actual dynamics of this system are pretty weak. Right now, obviously, anything under this with the daytime heating, those storms will still be severe and could pack a punch, but the actual area of low pressure is going to be not that significant. It's still a large system. Again, it's a monster storm. It's large. And notice that how once it starts getting a little closer towards where the jet stream is, because right here around the time frame of next Friday, so yes, this is pretty far out. We have a low pressure driving down a series of little cold fronts here, and the jet stream kind of tags along with this. And with that jet stream, we have roaring winds from the west, and this system kind of helps with those upper aloft winds, gets help from that, and starts beginning to develop into a little bit of a stronger circulation. So this is now again pretty far out. We'll have to see what exactly the models do with this, but notice that there's a more defined area of low pressure with it, not like several of them popping up and disappearing during the day. And the rainfall was more continuous with it, not just during the day, but also into the nighttime hours, indicating that this system has better support. But again, as that little wave moves away further eastward, according to this run of the GFS model, this system kind of loses that and goes back to being a weak system. So it's going to be an interesting storm for sure. So what I just showed you was the GFS model, and I want to show you the precipitation forecast with this system. Again, at the very top right corner is kind of the day and time. So it's Wednesday right now, the 2025, the 10th of September, in the evening hours. And as I push this forward, notice that the precipitation begins again across the west mainly. But as the system expands and develops, it brings moisture further and further east into the Midwest, into the northern plains, into southern Canada. Now again, this thing's going to be slow moving, and if these thunderstorms develop over several areas, several days at a time, they could drop quite a bit of moisture. You can see that the GFS with this particular model run, I'm specifying that because this will probably change as we get closer into time. This one is really targeting Saskatchewan there with quite a bit of moisture, up to 3 inches, which would be pretty significant, probably pockets much higher, but also right through down into the plains, into the southwest, into the northern Midwest, and upper plains there. A lot of rain and precipitation, so that is definitely something to watch with this system. So now I want to briefly show you the European model. So this is another model that we use often for the long range, at least kind of like this system. Part of it's in the shorter range, but a good part of this system, because it's so drawn out, will be in a longer range. I want to show you the European model, and I use these models mainly to track these systems, these two ones, as if there's a shorter or a system that's in a short-term time frame, I use the different models like the NAM, the HER, but those again would not capture the system because they are just simply too far away. The European, let me tell you this right off the bat, is not as excited about the system. It definitely still shows as storm, and definitely still shows it as the main area of precipitation across the United States. It is the main focus, if you will. It definitely doesn't really show anything else. A little bit maybe up across the northeast there, a little bit of disturbance, but notice that the main area of precipitation and showers, according to the European, is still in that similar area where the GFS shows that storm. But again, it's not as large, it's not as cohesive, so we will have to see which model is more correct. Most likely, like it always is, it's going to be a combination of these two. Not as quiet as a European, but not maybe as aggressive as a GFS. But again, even the European by next Wednesday, Tuesday shows some pretty strong echoes across the Midwest. Again, the European kind of following with the GFS, though, that this system is all over the place. It's not really one cohesive monster for a good portion of the time. It's just more of this massive conglomeration of individual, I guess, flare-ups of thunderstorms. There still is a central area of where that low pressure is, but again, at times it becomes very fuzzy on where it actually lies. What the European does that the GFS does not is introduces another system across the southwestern and British Columbia and into Alberta, Canada, by next Friday. And this system, unlike the GFS, it really develops into a pretty strong system, and it's more of that kind of characteristic cohesive fall storm. You can see drops of low pressure to a pretty low pressure of 992, 990, and developing again that blast of strong winds and precipitation on the backside of it, a cold front, even a warm front right there. You can see on this map they're definitely warped, but that's a cold front, that's the warm front, and behind this is where all that precipitation would be falling. Looks like an octopus that I drew right there. But note that, again, we'll have to wait and see which one is more accurate. And this storm that the European shows is pretty far out, but also a little bit more impactful than what the GFS showed, as the GFS at this point kind of showed that first one moving out, while the European shows that first one for a little bit and then evolves it into the second storm. So either way, there's going to be something brewing. The GFS is more aggressive in a short to medium term with that first system, while the European not as aggressive at first, but then ends up showing a pretty powerful storm. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm leaning towards the GFS scenario a little by a little bit. Not by much, though. The European has been catching up in terms of its quality over the last few weeks. During the summer, it was doing god-awful. But now it seems to be finally picking up on its track record. That usually is pretty good. So that is basically it for today's video, guys. Just wanted to give you an update, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.